For years, I was the one who showed up. No questions, no hesitation. But the night I needed someone, my phone stayed silent. That's when I realized who my real friends were and weren't. Flat tire on a rainy night? I was there with jumper cables and a flashlight. Break up at 3 in the morning? I would listen on the phone until you stopped crying, even if I had work in a few hours. Moving day and nobody else answered? I was already hauling your futon down 3 flights of stairs. People said things like, "You're a lifesaver. I don't know what I'd do without you. And seriously, you're the best." That stuff used to mean something to me. Back then, it felt good to be needed. It felt like purpose. I leaned into it hard, being reliable, solid, the dependable one, the calm in chaos. I never realized how much of my identity got wrapped up in that. I thought, this is who I am. This is what makes me worth something. So I made room for everybody else's emergencies, everybody else's pain. I learned how to listen without interrupting, how to patch things up I did not break, how to absorb stress like a sponge and never wring it out. When my best friend, Drew, wrecked his car and was too scared to call his dad, I took the blame for the busted taillight. When my ex-girlfriend Haley's mom got sick, I sat with her at the hospital even after we broke up. When my coworker Mark's wife left him, I picked up his shifts while he unraveled. No overtime, no complaints. That was just me. The guy people leaned on. The guy people turned to. It never mattered if I was tired. If I had my own stuff going on, I would show up anyway. I told myself I was doing it out of love, because that is what good people do. That is what friends are for, right? But here is the thing nobody tells you about being dependable. About being the one who always picks up the phone, always says yes, always makes space. Eventually, people stop seeing it as a choice. They start seeing it as your job. And that is exactly how it started to unravel. It started slow, like most things do. You do one favor, then another. At first, everyone's grateful. They say thank you. They text you later saying, "Couldn't have done it without you." But after a while, that thank you turns into, "Can you help again next week?" And then it is not even a question. It is a text that just says, "Need you Sunday." And you do it, because that is who you are. But something changes. They stop asking if you are free. They assume you are. They stop checking in to see if you are okay. Because in their heads, you always are. You are the guy who has it together, who never needs help, who never breaks. I remember this one Saturday. I had just gotten off a 10-hour shift. I was dead on my feet, my back screaming, head pounding. I was walking to my car when my phone buzzed. It was Lindsay, my neighbor, kind of a friend, kind of not. She had locked herself out of her apartment. "No, hey, are you busy?" Or "Sorry to ask. Just need your ladder. Windows cracked open. Come quick." No part of me wanted to go. Not 1 ounce of energy left in my body. But I turned around, got the ladder from the garage, and walked 2 blocks in the dark to her place. When I got there, she didn't even look surprised. Just said, "Took you long enough," like I was a delivery guy who missed the time slot. That should have been a red flag. It should have clicked then, but it didn't. Because the truth is, I thought being needed meant being valued. I thought if people kept calling me, leaning on me, then I mattered. I thought loyalty earned love. But looking back now, it was not love. It was convenience. There is this moment that sticks out. Haley again, my ex. She called me one night in tears. Said her dog was sick and the vet was closed. She did not know what to do. I was already in bed. I had work the next morning. But I grabbed my hoodie, picked her up, and we drove to the emergency clinic 2 towns over. We sat in the parking lot until almost 4 in the morning. When it was all said and done, I paid half the bill because she forgot her wallet. And then, nothing. No check-in the next day. No thank you. A week later, she posted some filtered photo of her and the dog with a caption that read, "Thankful for the real ones." But she never met me. I started to notice it more after that. How I was always showing up, but somehow never really there. How I could be in the middle of the storm for someone, but once the clouds cleared, I disappeared again. It was like they only remembered me when things got bad. And deep down, I was starting to wonder if that was all I was to them. It all came to a head on a Tuesday. Funny how the worst moments never wait for some big dramatic setup. Sometimes it just happens on a regular weekday, in the middle of a grocery store parking lot, with the sky overcast and the radio playing some cheesy 90s song you used to like. That morning, I had gotten a call from my mom. She needed help moving a dresser. Said it was too heavy for her and my stepdad was out of town. She sounded frazzled, so I dropped everything. Skipped breakfast. Told my boss I would be a little late. Got there, lifted the thing on my own, and reassembled it while she scrolled through Facebook like I was not even in the room. When I finished, she said, "Good. Now maybe I can finally keep this place from looking like a mess." "No, thank you. Just good." I brushed it off. Again, after work, I swung by the grocery store because Mark, my coworker who was still leaning on me after his divorce, texted that he forgot to grab snacks for his daughter's birthday thing. I had never even met the kid. But of course I went. Bought a bag of stuff, paid for it out of my own pocket, and planned to drop it off at his place later. And then my phone rang. It was Drew. His voice was shaking. His wife had left him, just packed up her stuff and walked out. He was crying. This guy who once told me real men never cry. And I stood there next to a cart full of string cheese and juice boxes, listening to him fall apart. That was when something in me cracked. Not loudly. Not like glass shattering. Quietly. Like a slow, tired tear in the middle of something already worn thin. I wanted to tell him I could not do it. That I was running on empty. That I had not slept more than 4 hours in 3 days. That I had just found out my landlord was raising rent again and my car battery was dying, and I had a lump in my chest I had not told anyone about. I wanted to say, I cannot be the strong one right now. But I did not. I told him I was on my way. Because that was what I always did. But halfway there, right in the middle of an intersection, I pulled over and just sat. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. My heart was beating way too fast. And for the first time in my life, I thought, what if I just turned off my phone and drove somewhere else? What if I let the silence stretch long enough for someone to notice? I waited. A minute passed. Then 5. No one texted. No one called. Not even Drew. And that was when I realized. They were all so used to me fixing things. They never stopped to wonder if I might need fixing too. I finally made it home that night. Dropped the birthday snacks on Mark's porch. Didn't ring the bell. Didn't want another long talk about how life's tough, man. I just needed air. When I got inside, I tossed my keys on the table, sat down on the floor, and stared at the wall. For a long time. No music. No phone. Just this awful buzzing silence that made the room feel way too loud. And then my phone lit up. It was Haley. Out of nowhere. The ex. The one I helped when her mom was in the hospital. The one I picked up at 2 in the morning when her car broke down in the middle of nowhere. The one who cried in my arms after her grandfather passed. The one who told me, right before she left, that I was too stable. That I made things too easy. She used those exact words. Too easy. Like being reliable made me boring. Anyway, her text said, "Hey, just wanted to see how you're doing. I miss your energy." That was it. That was the message. No apology. No mention of how she ghosted me after saying we were better as friends. Just that empty line, like I was a battery she wanted to plug back into. I sat there, holding my phone like it might explode. And I started scrolling. Through old threads. Old photos. Years of conversations where I was always the one reaching out first. Always the one planning. Reminding. Supporting. Not just with her. With everyone. Drew's messages were all, "Can you talk?" And "Bro, I'm losing it." Never, "How are you?" Lindsay's thread? Just logistics. Times, places, favors. Even my mom. Scroll far enough, and it is just errands and updates. No warmth. No curiosity. It hit me like a brick. I had been there for everyone. Every call, every crisis. But when things got quiet, when I stopped showing up first, they never came looking for me. And here was Haley, sending a text like I was still available. Like I was some safe space she could return to after everyone else burned her. I typed out a reply. I really did. Then I deleted it. I put the phone down and stared at the ceiling. Because the truth is, I was not angry. Not anymore. I was just empty. Not the kind of empty that comes from loss. The kind that comes from giving so much of yourself away for so long. You forget what it feels like to hold anything back. The next morning, I turned my phone off. Not silent. Not do not disturb. I held the button until it went black. Tossed it into the drawer with some receipts, old batteries, and a charger I never use. It felt like slamming a door without making a sound. And just like that, I disappeared. No status updates. No replies. No last minute. "Hey, I'm just taking time for myself" message. I gave them the same silence they had given me 100 times before. For the first time in a long time, I stayed in bed. I mean, really stayed there. Not because I was sick or hungover or recovering from some overnight favor run. Just stayed. Let the stillness wrap around me like a blanket. watched dust move in the morning light, and wondered how long it had been since I noticed anything like that. Around noon, I heard a knock at the door. I did not move. 3 more knocks. Then silence. A couple hours later, I checked the peephole. It was Drew. He had dropped a 6-pack of cheap beer on the mat. There was a sticky note on it. Call me. I need you. Not, are you okay? Not, you good? Just another need. I did not open the door. That same day, I found myself staring at a photo on my bookshelf. It was from 4 years back. Haley, Drew, Lindsay, and me. All of us sitting around a bonfire, faces orange with firelight, smiling like we were carved into the moment. I remember that night. It had started with Drew getting dumped, Haley crying about her job, Lindsay showing up late because of car trouble. Me? I built the fire. I brought the drinks. I stayed after to clean up while everyone else left. And when I looked at that photo now, I did not see a memory. I saw a lie. A staged moment where I looked like I was part of something real, but I was just the scaffolding, holding everything up so they could feel supported, safe, seen. I never realized that while I was busy holding them together, no one was holding me. I did not cry that day. I just started throwing things out. Notes from old birthdays. Half-burned candles from last-minute thank yous. That ugly ceramic mug Drew gave me the year I covered his rent and told no one. Trash. All of it. It was not about revenge. I was not looking to make a statement. I just let go. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. And somewhere in that quiet, I felt something unfamiliar rising up inside me. Not grief. Not rage. Just peace. But I should have known better than to think it would stay quiet for long. By the 3rd day, the messages were pouring in. Voicemails, emails, even a note slid under my door in handwriting I recognized from Drew's lazy post-it scribbles. My phone was still off, but the world has other ways of tapping your shoulder. Lindsay emailed me twice. Subject line on both? You good? The first one said, not sure if you're sick or just off the grid. I need help with my move Saturday. Let me know what time you can come. No warmth. No curiosity. Just a schedule. The second came 12 hours later. If you can't help, I'll just figure it out. Would have been nice to get a heads up though. Classic Lindsay. The cool girl. Mask slipping the second she didn't get what she wanted. Drew left me 5 voicemails. The last one was different. He sounded angry. Look, man, I get you're going through something, but you don't just vanish like this. People count on you. I count on you. So pick up the damn phone already. And there it was. I count on you. Not I care about you. Not I'm worried. Just panic from someone who lost his emotional crutch and didn't know how to limp without it. Even Haley reached out again, sent a long-winded email about how she had been doing a lot of thinking lately, and how she realized sometimes we don't appreciate what we have until it's gone. She said she was going through a tough time and missed the way I made her feel. The way I made her feel, not who I was. And that was the pattern, right? Every one of them circling back. Not because they missed me, but because they missed what I did for them. That is when I knew it for sure. I had not built a circle of love. I had built a system of dependence. And the second I removed myself, the whole thing wobbled. But here is the part that shook me the most. My birthday came. No one remembered. Not one text. Not one post. Not one knock on the door. They had filled my calendar every other week with their chaos. But on the one day that was supposed to be mine, nothing. And somehow, that silence said more than any message ever could. It confirmed everything I had been afraid to say out loud. I was not part of their lives. I was part of their support structure. And they only noticed I was gone because they needed something. A week passed. No phone. No replies. Just me, my thoughts, and the strange calm of finally choosing myself. Then came the knock. Not the usual impatient pound of someone who expected to be let in. It was softer, uncertain, like whoever was on the other side was not sure they belonged there. I almost did not answer. I was still wearing the same hoodie from 2 days ago, and I probably looked like someone who had not left the house in a week, which was exactly the case. But something told me to look. I opened the door halfway, and there she was, Claire. We had not spoken in almost 3 years. She used to be part of the group. The quiet one who never made a big deal out of anything, but noticed everything. The kind of friend who remembered birthdays without Facebook reminders and brought soup when you were sick without needing to be asked. We had a falling out, nothing explosive, just slow distance, the kind that creeps in when one person keeps showing up and the other forgets how to ask how they are doing. She had been the first one to drift. Or maybe, She had just stopped trying when she realized no one was asking her to stay. She was holding something in her hands. A small brown bag with a bakery logo and a coffee cup balanced on top. Her expression was cautious, not pitying, just real. "I heard about what happened," she said softly. "Well, not what happened, just that you've been gone." I did not say anything. She held out the coffee and bag like a peace offering. "Still take it black with no sugar?" I took the cup without thinking. It was warm, familiar. She glanced past me into the apartment. Books scattered, dishes half done, a blanket still curled on the couch. It looked like what it was, a place someone had stopped pretending to hold together. She did not comment. Instead, she stepped back and said, "You do not have to talk. Just thought you should know someone showed up." And she left. That bag, it had my favorite muffin in it. The one I always used to get from that cafe downtown, back when life felt lighter. It sounds stupid, but that muffin almost broke me. Not because it was sweet, but because it was the first time in weeks, maybe months, that someone had given me something without expecting anything in return. No favors, no guilt, no strings, just a muffin, a cup of coffee, and a reminder. I had not always been invisible. There were people who had once seen me, not just used me. And maybe there still were. That night, I sat on the couch with that half-eaten muffin beside me and the smell of black coffee still lingering in the air. It was the first peace I had felt in a long time. But peace has a strange way of turning into reflection, and reflection has a cruel habit of showing you things you would rather not see. I thought about every version of myself that people had leaned on. The guy with jumper cables, the one who covered shifts, the shoulder for tears, the steady voice on the other end of the phone. It was almost like I had built 100 small versions of myself just to keep other people from falling apart. And somewhere along the line, I forgot that I was allowed to need the same thing. I went to the drawer, pulled my phone out, and stared at the black screen for a long minute. Turning it back on felt like opening a door I had locked for a reason. When the screen lit up, the messages rolled in. Notifications stacked over one another, 27 texts, 9 voicemails, a handful of emails. I scrolled without reading most of them. The tone was the same. Questions, demands, guilt wrapped in worry. "Where are you? You can't just vanish. I need to talk to you. Please, man, I'm falling apart." Then one message stopped me. It was from Drew again. It said, "Forget it. Guess you were never really my friend anyway." I stared at that for a long time. The words were sharp, but all I could think was how perfectly they revealed the truth. Because if friendship ends the second you stop giving, it was never friendship to begin with. And yet it hurt. Of course it did. You do not pour years of your life into people and walk away without scars. I thought about calling him. Thought about explaining everything. How tired I had been. How close I was to breaking. How I just wanted someone, anyone, to notice that the reliable guy was drowning. But I didn't. Because I finally understood that explaining myself would not change a thing. They would listen, nod, maybe say sorry, and then hand me another problem to solve. Instead, I called Claire. She picked up on the second ring. No small talk, no questions. Just a quiet, steady, "Hey, you okay?" I told her the truth. For once, the whole truth. About the burnout, the emptiness, the silence that never got answered back. She did not try to fix it. She just listened. When I finished, she said something simple. "You kept everyone else from falling apart for years. Maybe it's time you let things fall where they need to." That line stayed with me long after we hung up. I sat there until the sky outside started to lighten. The city was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels like a deep breath after holding one too long. And somewhere between exhaustion and relief, I realized this was not a collapse. It was a clearing. The part of me that had spent years holding up everyone else was finally letting go. I did not plan some dramatic comeback. No long post, no cryptic status. I just showed up. At Mark's little backyard thing. The one he had every fall with beer in coolers and mismatched folding chairs. The same get-together where I used to do all the grilling, all the organizing, all the cleanup, while everyone else just showed up and enjoyed. This time, I walked in late. No bag of ice, no extra folding chairs, no offering. Just me. And for the first time in years, I did not feel like I owed anyone anything. The conversations dipped the second they saw me. A few nervous glances. Some awkward hellos. No one really knew what to say. Drew was standing by the fire pit. He looked thinner, somehow smaller. Like the weight of his own life was finally sitting on him without me there to hold it up. He walked over. For a second, I thought maybe this would be it. A real apology. A moment of recognition. But all he said was, "So, you just went off the grid, huh?" I looked him in the eye and said, "Yeah, I had to." He nodded like he understood, but I could tell. He didn't. Not really. Not in the way I needed him to. Then he said something that sealed it. I mean, you could have just said something, man. You didn't have to be dramatic. Dramatic. That word landed harder than any insult. It told me everything. In his eyes, my silence, my one act of self-preservation after years of nonstop giving, was still an inconvenience. Still about him. I did not respond. I just walked past him and found a spot by the fence. Alone. For once, I was not trying to blend in or smooth things over. I just watched. I watched as Lindsay laughed too loud at someone's story. I watched as Mark tried to play host and forgot napkins like he always did. I watched them struggle to run a gathering I used to carry behind the scenes. And you know what? The world did not end without me. They figured things out. Not well. Not gracefully. But they did. For years, I had told myself they needed me. Turns out, they didn't. They just liked it better when I made life easier for them. Later that night, Drew offered me a beer. I shook my head. He looked confused. And for the first time in our friendship, I let the silence stay. No explaining. No fixing. No stepping in. Just quiet. Because I was done being the convenient one. A few weeks passed. The texts slowed. The calls faded out. The people who once said I was the best thing that ever happened to them stopped trying altogether once they realized I was not coming back in the same way. And you know what? I was okay with it. I started waking up without that tight feeling in my chest. Without the mental checklist of who needed what and how fast I could deliver. I had more space in my mind. More quiet in my days. At first, that quiet felt like loneliness. But over time, I realized it was something else entirely. It was peace. I started going for walks in the morning, no phone, no rush. Just me, breathing in the kind of silence I used to be afraid of. I cooked for myself. Not for a group. Not as a favor. Just because I wanted to eat something warm and good. Claire and I kept in touch. Sometimes we'd sit on a park bench and talk for hours. Sometimes just a few texts here and there. No pressure. No saving. Just connection. Real and mutual. One night, I found myself flipping through a box of old stuff. Notes people had written me, birthday cards, random messages thanking me for being there when nobody else was. I read them one by one, and then I let them go, not out of anger, but because I finally understood something that had taken me years to admit. Being reliable is not the same thing as being loved. People loved what I did for them, not who I was, and that was not their fault. That was mine, for believing I had to earn my place by solving everything. So I stopped chasing that version of me. I stopped showing up for people who disappeared the second I needed them. And no, I did not have some big confrontation or tearful goodbye. I just stepped back. Quietly. Calmly. Peacefully. Because sometimes, the most honest thing you can do is let people go. Especially the ones who only clapped when you carried their weight.